Well, it's a very good morning from him, and of course, it's a very good morning from me. Welcome to my mortgage live stream. Hope you're all good. Hope you're all well. We had a lovely trip last week. We were down in Dartmouth for a couple of days in Devon. Beautiful part of the world. Good weather too, actually. It's a little bit of a sunny day. But Dartmouth's lovely, actually. So hence no live stream last week. But we're back on with a full string for you today, and we're live on air. I hope you're good. Hope you're fine. Enjoying the autumn as we're starting to progress into October. It's not too far from Christmas, of course, and everyone's got their Christmas shop decorations out, trees are up and all sorts of things. We're not even October, are we yet? Anyway, enough of that. Let's get into the main topic of today, because I've got quite a big topic for you to share, which is about the budget that's coming up. You know, the big Rachel budget, as we call the Labour government's first financial statement, if you like. And there's going to be a few changes. As a mortgage advisor, financial advisor, you need to be thinking about these changes because it may well affect your business, but it may affect your studies, of course, for CMAP, if that's what you're doing. So what I want to do is give you an update on what we think are going to be happening in the budget, and then a little bit of a tech update for you as well, just in case somebody asks you at a dinner party at the weekend, yeah, what's all this about then? And you can then tell them with confidence. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to pop over to some slides for this one for you, and we're going to enjoy a bit of an update for you on the technical side. Then I'm going to finish off with a little sales tip for you, how to present a pitch to clients or people online as well. So we've got that coming up for you. So let's just head over to some slides, shall we? And I've got a lovely little slide for you. I think you'll like this one. Let's just pop across. This is a little cartoon I picked up courtesy of the paper, which I thought was really quite funny, actually. Let's just pop on in and say hello to you on this one as well. Black hole to support, please dig deep. Now, obviously, we've got this famous black hole, financial black hole, and she's finding all sorts of black holes, which they need to dig deep to fill in. And she's having problems trying to borrow more money because of the fiscal constraints that she's got. So she's looking to raise money through taxation. So, okay, what's going to happen then at the end of the month in the budget? What sort of changes possibly could they come about? And I'm going to talk about 5 really today, 5 changes that I'm predicting through my studies and my insights into the sector. The first thing I think she's going to do is align capital gains tax with income tax. So I'm going to give you a bit of an update on why she's doing that and what implications that will have, because it will have a knock-on effect on a few things. Number 2, I think she'll remove some of the inheritance tax and capital gains tax exemptions, which new businesses can gain, farming can gain, that sort of thing. I think she'll tinker with that. Number 3, she might look at higher rate relief and additional rate relief on pensions. She might reduce that. Don't think so, because of the implication with the public sector, who receive their pensions on final salary pension schemes. They get all their tax relief at source, you see, through the pay method. So it's going to be a bit of a pickle to try and change that. Now, I think she'll change double death tax, as we call it, on capital gains tax. And I think she might tinker with employer national insurance on pension contributions. So quite a few changes. Let's have a look at some of those for you to see, just to update you on what the knowledge requirements are for your business. So first of all, capital gains tax, which appears in your CMAP 1, your CMAP 2 and 3, and obviously all the other exams as well. And we're fully aware that capital gains tax has its own rates and exemptions and those sort of things. But they're looking maybe to realign it with income tax rates. Now, that's actually not a new thing. And here's a press article for you from recently. And this press article tells you about these 2 dudes. Do you remember these 2 guys? They look young. There's Tony Blair, which was, of course, 1997. And that's Gordon Brown, looking very, very young and fresh. Now, these guys changed the capital gains tax situation as well. So let me share with you the graph how they did that, just looking at the rest of the article. Now, you notice here that capital gains are taxed at a lower rate than income. But up until 1997, which is obviously over here, they were actually slightly separate. They brought them together in 1989-ish. Capital gains tax was a lot lower. Income tax, of course, was much higher. Then in 1989, 1990, they made them the same rate. So they were actually the same rate of tax for a long, long time, as you can appreciate, all the way through Tony Blair's and Gordon Brown's issue. And just before the election, they separated them again. And that was done by Gordon Brown, I believe, or was it Alistair Darling, who was the Chancellor? But they made capital gains tax lower than income tax. And then as the new guys came in, they adjusted the figures slightly, as you can appreciate. But since then, capital gains tax has been a lot lower than income tax. Now, because of that, they're looking to change it again. So it's actually not a new thing. It's been the same for many, many years. And it was the Conservatives that made it the same. It wasn't Labour. They just kept it going. So it's not a political thing. This is an economic necessity. So that's a good little article there. And it just goes on to tell you a bit more about, aligning the top rate of tax paid on so-called unearned income is a good way of getting some extra money coming in. Because if you do that, then you're going to have to change a few more things. So let's have a quick review of the changes to capital gains tax, shall we, to get you up to speed. Now, in 2020, the Office of Tax Simplification issued a report suggesting that we simplified capital gains tax. So this is like, just before COVID or just after COVID. These guys who want to simplify tax said that we should do it. And they suggested three things. Number one, we should align the rates of income tax. So this is not a new thing. It's been talked about for a while. Number two, we should consider a relief for inflationary gains. Now, the problem, of course, with capital gains tax is it's a tax payable on assets that grow in value. But some of that growth is purely down to inflation, because it is. So if you're going to tax at the same rate of income tax, you really should be bringing this back in. I'm going to share with you how that might work. Number three is reduce the annual exempt amount. Now, back then, the annual exemption was about £12,000 or thereabouts. Now, of course, the Conservative government before that reduced that dramatically, and now it's a very small amount of money. So the next thing, of course, is to align rates of income tax. So all that Rachel's doing is doing what the Office of Tax Simplification said she should do. Now, if she does that, we'll probably reintroduce indexation. So let me just summarise for you, for those of you that have been in this game for a long time. You probably remember indexation to capital gains tax. And back in the day, between 1982 and 2008, individuals were permitted an indexation allowance against any gain that they made to reflect the fact that only the true gain should be taxed. So some of you may well remember that indexation allowance. That was something that will probably come back in. And you'll need to learn about that for your CMAPs, of course. So how did it used to work then? How's it probably going to work again? Well, first of all, they rebased the capital gain to 1982, which meant that if you owned the asset before 82, they just basically took that value. So that was good for things bought in the 70s and the 60s. Secondly, the indexation allowance was calculated by multiplying the base cost of the asset by the change in the retail price index. They used RPI because they could, and they did. They may use CPI this time. Prior to 2008, we used a simple system of taper relief. Using a table, you effectively reduced the tax bill. That's pretty much how it worked out, which is pretty straightforward, really. And that's something that may well come in, and you'll have to learn about that. And we'll update you on that when it happens. Now, alongside taper, when they got rid of it in 2008, they introduced a couple of ways of reducing your capital gains tax for growth, business growth type situations. And I'll share with you what I mean. So will these go to now? Because they introduced these two when they got rid of taper relief, but if they bring taper relief back, they may well get rid of these two. And this is what's been in the press recently. The first one is this one called BADR, which is a great name, isn't it? Business Asset Disposal Relief, called BADR. I just love an acronym, don't you? And in a sense, this lowers the capital gains tax to 10% on qualifying business assets gains up to 1 million over a taxpayer's lifetime. So we're talking about entrepreneurs here. In fact, this used to be called the Entrepreneurs Relief. These are dudes who take lots of risks and create companies that grow the economy. They take lots of risks, and she's willing to put her money on to lose the money to create a business. As a result of that, when she sells it, she only pays capital gains tax at 10%. It's a good thing. It gets businesses going. The relief is targeted at small business owners and employees who own a minimum of 5% of the shares. So it's the company owners, as you can probably see, that this relief is designed for. And it's a good thing. But of course, she may have to get rid of that if she brings capital gains tax in line with income tax rates. So I don't think she wants to do, because that's good for growth in the economy. That's what she wants. Now, the second one is known as investors' relief. Now, this is a 10% capital gains tax. aimed at external investors in unlisted companies. So these are people that invest in AIM type companies, which again are brand new firms, which are risky, but designed, to grow the economy. And people invest money. So why don't you give them a good tax break, which is what they're doing? Available on gains up to £10 million and designed to encourage long-term investment in growing businesses. So they may well get rid of those, which is a shame. But that's what will happen if the tax simplification people get their way. Interesting, isn't it? Now, the second one, which not a lot of people are aware of, that they might get rid of to raise more money on capital gains tax, is this capital gains tax on death. Now, not everybody appreciates that if you die, and your estate, of course, gets added up for inheritance tax purposes, any capital gains tax liability is wiped out. Again, not a lot of people are aware of this one. So the estate doesn't have to pay any capital gains tax on assets that weren't sold, known as unrealised gains, before the person died. So the one way of avoiding capital gains tax is to die. A little bit drastic, but you get my point. Now, if the property or asset is sold during probate and its value rose, then there is CGT. So, if there's a second property, a rental property or whatever, and that forms part of the person's estate, then there's no capital gains tax to pay on that. But as soon as it forms part of the estate and the administrators or the executors hold on to that property for whatever reason, and it goes up in value, then there's capital gains tax to pay, but only on the gain made whilst it was being administered by executors. So that might go too, which is quite an interesting thing, isn't it? Now, the last one of those points I made to you earlier is about employer pension contributions. So I think that's worth just mentioning for you as well very quickly. Again, this is another thing that might well be removed, which will affect a lot of business that IFAs get involved in. And I'm going to pop over to the whiteboard for this one. There we go. Let's pop across here for you. Employer pension contributions is where we're going. Again, this is CMAP territory for your CPD as well as your exams, if that's what you're doing. Now, if we take a look at the situation here, a lot of people who work for companies or owner-directors who own companies and are employed by them like to have their company make the pension contribution to their pension. So you've got here, for example, a dude here. Let's just put our little dude up here. Move the hair there for you. There's our dude. And this person happens to be a part of a company. And over here, we'll put the company, show you. Let's put the company this person works for. So let's just put a big office block in there. Lots of shows you it's an office, isn't it? It's best of my cartoons for you. Now, this person has a SIP. Of course, they could have a personal pension, but nobody has this these days. It's all SIPs, isn't it? SIPs, self-invested personal pension. So it's just like a personal pension, really. Now, this person, of course, could make their own contributions to their pension, subject to their salary and the annual limits and things. And if they did that, great. All is fine. But instead of them paying on, or in addition to them paying it, they can get their employer to make the payments. So what the employer then does is contributes to this pension. Here we go. From their own coffers towards this person's pension. And if they do that, of course, there's no corporation tax to pay because it's an allowable expense on behalf of the employer. So it's a good thing because it's like paying a salary, isn't it, in effect? You're reducing your corporation tax. Now, at the moment, the employer also doesn't have to pay national insurance. So let's squeeze that over here for you. So national insurance, which would normally be paid by an employer when they make a salary payment to somebody, and it's 13.8% at the moment. Obviously, it might be different when you watch this. So it's almost 14% the employer has to pay in addition to everybody else's national insurance. It's a big chunk of their money. Now, if they make a payment to somebody's pension, they don't have to pay employer national insurance. How good is that? Which is why a lot of employers will make payments into people's pensions. And a lot of these employees, it's an employee there, you have to be an employee, of course, are quite happy for their employer to make payments into their pension because it tops it all up, doesn't it? It's a good thing. The employer is very happy to do it because they don't get corporation tax on the payment. There's no national insurance to pay. So often this thing called salary sacrifice creeps in. Salary sacrifice, which is where the employee who's got a big fat pay rise coming up, or a bonus maybe, says to the boss, look, don't pay me the bonus or that pay rise, put it into my pension and save yourself some national insurance, because if they paid the salary to this person, they'd have to pay national insurance on it, but not if it's a salary sacrifice, which is a good thing. And if this employee is also an owner director, which is very commonplace these days for small firms, she owns her own firm, so she can make the rules. That's often what goes on in the pension world, which you may not be licensed for that as well. But I think what might come across is that the Chancellor may decide to abolish this situation so that any pension contributions to SIPPs actually incur a national insurance charge. Think about it. It's therefore down to the employer to foot the bill, not the ordinary person in the street. So it's probably a good political move. So that's just an update for you on what might happen. So quite a lot of changes there, really, if you think about it. Quite a few changes coming in, which we've talked about. Let's just pop on in there. I do love that cartoon, don't you? Let's bring that cartoon back, because I think that's really cool. There you go. Let's just pop on in as well. She's got this black hole to fill. She's going to be taxing, as I mentioned it before, that they're going to be taxing unearned income. I think there's going to be some tinkering with capital gains tax. And a lot of people, of course, have been trying to sell their properties and things before the end of October in advance of this tinkering. So hopefully that's just giving you a nice little update on what might happen. So you can talk professionally and confidently at the dinner party at the weekend when you're asked about it. Hope that's been useful for you. Good. Okay, let's have something slightly less involving now. And we'll talk about selling or giving advice or whatever it is you want to do. But if there's a situation where you have to give some information to somebody online and you want to persuade them to do something, I'm going to share with you now the classic sales pitch online. Now, the McDonald's Big Mac is considered a classic. I want to talk about classics here because of its iconic structure, consistent taste, and widespread availability. Introduced in 1967, not a lot of people know that, the Big Mac is unique. It has a combination of unique ingredients, and McDonald's global presence makes it a classic of all time. Now let's talk about classics, because if you need to deliver a sales pitch online and wonder about the structure that you should use, you actually won't go far wrong with one of the greatest classics of presentations. Let me explain what I mean by that one. Number one is your opening line. Introduce your talk with a line that captures somebody's attention, such as a quote, a startling fact, or maybe a provocative question. Number two, a story to eliminate the problem or illuminate the problem. Maybe a personal story that introduces the problem to you that you want to solve. Number three, describe the problem. Number four, reinforce the problem. Maybe back it up with a synopsis of the problem with some evidence to ram it home. Number five, introduce the solution. Number six, perhaps a practical example of how the solution would work with maybe evidence and proof. Number seven, take questions from your audience. And then finally, number eight, a call to action, some sort of commitment that you want from the audience. Now that's the classic sales pitch online. Now I actually prefer the Burger King. I don't know about you. Burger King's burger is known as the Whopper. What a great name. Introduced in 1957, that's 6 years before I was born. The Whopper is known for its large size, distinctive flame-grilled flavour, making it a signature item on Burger King's menu. Yum, I'm feeling hungry, aren't you? There you go. Thought you might like that little sort of snippet of information there for you. Okay, so I think it's time to wrap up now, don't you? I think it's time to wrap up our live stream today, because we've given you quite a lot of information today. As always, lots of things going on in our world. And if you want to be informed of what's happening, make sure you get onto the database there, as you can see, by scanning that in or putting your name in that box, and we'll be happy to talk to you about all sorts of things. What's going on with us all in the next few weeks, a few months or so? We've got Thursday night catch-ups for everybody on how to be a mortgage advisor. We've got that going on as well. We've got the boot camp, of course, coming in. Now we've got the DIP FA route to financial advisor. That's getting going now, with people having guidance and help with achieving the financial advisor qualification. So that's happening as well. Lots of sales skills, lots of ideas to share with you over the autumn. So lots of things happening. If you want to know what's going on, just get yourself on that database. Be happy to update you. Other than that, I do hope that you have a fantastic week ahead of you. Enjoy yourselves, enjoy the daylight before, of course, the clocks go backwards at the end of the month. I'll see you all next week. Bye for now.